How you doing? This is Sean McVeigh with Sean's Outdoor Adventures, and in this video I'm going to show you how to tune an Xpedition compound bow. This is a hybrid cam system. They do have one single cam bows, but so this is going to be how to tune all of their other ones. The reason I'm doing this particular video is a lot of pro shops who started carrying Xpedition have been using my video to figure out how to tune their bows, and so I want to streamline this one and cut out all of the beginner stuff that I put in the other one. A couple things you're going to do to get started. Each bow comes with a sheet that tells you the reference hole marks and the measurements that correlate how far the string or cable should be from the reference point on the cam. Make sure you determine which type of cam you're working on, whether it's the PX3 or the XS cam.
For this cam, the reference hole should be an inch from the cable. And if you're working on a used bow, an older bow, and these measurements are way off, you're probably going to have to take the strings and cables off and get them back to the original specifications. You'll do that simply by adding, most commonly you'll be adding twist in that scenario. So to set the draw stop timing, you just look at your chart. I'm dealing with a 31-inch draw, 65-pound limb, so my bottom cam draw stop should be between 2.5 and 3. So here is the draw stop, and the center of the peg is right around the middle of 2.5 and 3. I have it slightly more forward toward the 3 to shorten the pocket. It's all about preference. If you want more let off and a bigger valley or a bigger pocket, you move it back closer to the 2.5, the lower number. And that's going to, just a small movement here is going to give you a pretty significant increase with draw length and things like that. So you set the bottom one, and then with your adding and removing twists from the control cable, you'll then adjust the top one. You don't move the bottom draw stop once you have it set. You leave that alone, and then all other movements are going to be with the top draw stop peg. So then let's put it on the draw board and get that one set.
I just set my draw stop timing. So the next thing you're going to do is get your nock point set, or your D-loop set. Obviously you're going to put your arrow rest on for that. And I'll remind you, this is an easy thing to overlook, but if you're doing a drop down rest and it's one, like this is the QAD, that comes up in the vertical position, make sure when you're setting the nock point you're holding it in the vertical position, because it could change a little bit between that resting position to the vertical. So a lot of guys use like the levels that clip on here and here. One thing I will caution you, if you are doing that, if you have this clipped onto the serving and the very bottom of the serving is bulged a little bit more because of the string that's under the wrap at the end, you can throw off this level a little bit, and that's going to throw off just a tiny bit. But if you're trying to be as precise as possible, keep that in mind. I usually just hold it against the string up here. It's not going to clip on. I just gently hold it, and I get the bubbles to get me close. Another thing I do is I actually keep a speed square nearby, and before I have my D-loop on, I double check with the speed square if my arrow is perfectly square on there. Let's take a tape measure, and remember, if you're going to do this, typically in the end of these tape measures, this piece slides in and out about a 1/16 of an inch, because if you hook this on a 2x4 to take a measurement, it's going to slide out. But if you're going to put it against the wall to compensate for that 1/16 of an inch right there, it's going to slide in. Make sure that it's pushed in for what you're about to do so that it doesn't throw off your measurement. Even though it might only do it by about a 1/16 of an inch, you still, try to be precise. Now that I have my nock point, my D-loop in place, I want to get my center shot a little bit. Right now with these bows, the center of the shaft should be about 13/16 to 7/8 of an inch away from the riser. So you hold that on there and double check. And make sure, again, you're pushing it solid and this is in, because that 1/16 of an inch does make a difference here. And you verify you're at 13/16 to 7/8, right around there. You can also hold it in the back here and make that measurement, and then come up to the front and make that measurement. Again, you want to keep your head in the same position And that's going to help you, like if that measurement changes a little bit, that could mean that your arrow rest is not centered and it's sticking out one way or the other. So you got to make that adjustment. Okay, out of the box, you're typically going to see some cam lean in the bottom cam on an Xpedition Bow, and that's intentional. If you ever tuned the binary cam system of the Bowtech, you know that you zero out the cam lean, you know, get the cam lean out of both cams, and then for paper tuning, you're adding or taking twist out of the same side of the cam in order to create cam lean, and that actually is how you dial the tuning in. So if you have a bow that currently the top cam has lean to it, go ahead and take that out. So you know, you look down there, this one's fresh out of the box and it is dead on. If that's not the case, check your axle to axle length. If the axle to axle length, let's say, is, you know, on this side it's too short, then maybe take the twist out of the yoke that needs to be, you know, taking some twist out in order to straighten out. Or if the ATA is too long, add some twist to the opposite side in order to get that cam lean out so that it's straight up and down. And now we're ready to shoot through paper. Some crucial things if you're paper tuning a bow is you cannot torque at all with your hand. So your grip has to be real good. I have a sling on this, so when I have my hand on here, everything is completely relaxed, and I'm focusing on that so that I don't torque the bow. If you have a machine to do this, great. But if you're doing it by hand, pay special attention that you're not torquing the bow, because that can throw off your paper tune. Second biggest thing for paper tuning, even for pro shops, is you have to shoot through the paper perfectly with the level. So like right now, I'm a little too tall here. I need to actually squat with my knees, not bend at the upper waist, because you're going to be throwing off your nock travel as it goes through the paper, you know, doing it this way. So bend at the knees to shoot straight through. Now I'm going to move back a little bit and take a shot through paper here. And I'm looking now, I already checked the level in my sight and it is on. So I'm going to pay special attention to that to make sure the bow's level. And there's my shot. Let's see what the paper does. Okay, here's my paper tear. My fletch to that side is there. And there's my fletch there. So my nock went through low. Okay, I meant to say a high nock tear there. So when you have a high nock tear, you're going to add twist to the control cable. When you have a low nock tear, you're going to remove twist from the control cable. Okay, as I'm getting this bow pressed here, there's a couple things I want to mention. One, depending on what kind of bow press you have, make sure you are not coming in contact with the limb stop with the way you're pressing the bow, because you do not want to bend the limb stop or something like that. Secondly, now what we're about to do is going to change the timing of the cams a little bit. So where your rest is set, it could change. So when you come to full draw, if you're doing a drop away rest, that is, that acts off of the cable here, you're going to have to make sure that it's still operating correctly. It could move it just enough that it doesn't fire properly. So you definitely have to check that when you do this. Sometimes you'll only do a half a twist, but I'm just going to try one here. Look at all of your cables. Make sure everything, your string and everything is back in the grooves where it needs to be. Alright, I'm going to take a second shot through paper now. Another thing to consider too is you want to be shooting with the proper spine arrow for this whole process. Alright, as you can see, I've made one adjustment to the cable, which was putting one twist in it, and I just got to move this over here around all this garbage, but I just shot a perfect bullet hole. Okay, so there is our first tear, and there is our second tear. Basically your perfect bullet hole. You can see the fletch there and straight down. Okay, so when I originally recorded this video and watched the footage back, I noticed that when I shot through the paper, I was angled down a slight bit, and so I wanted to, give you some suggestions to compensate for that. I just didn't get a chance till now to do that. What I've done in this situation is I'm in my basement, so I have this wall here. I just took a level and I put it on the wall, and then I trace lines on the wall, as you can see right here. I also set up a mirror behind where the camera is. Now if you have your own pro shop, you can just find a spot on one of your walls or create something where you have this, so when your customer draws back to shoot through paper, I can't see the lines to it. Okay, there. So you can line up and you can tell them, okay, raise your hand, lower, whatever, so they're shooting it level, and that's just going to help your readings going through paper, because depending on how extreme your angles are up or down, it could impact the reading you're getting through the paper. So that's one thing. Another thing I wanted to mention is every time I make an adjustment to the control cable in this process, I reset the draw stop timing before I do anything else. So I put it right on the draw board. So let's go do that real quick. Alright, when I go to set my draw stop timing on the draw board, I like to actually put a little knock in here to prevent any kind of D-loop sliding. Sometimes it's possible for that to pinch together, so I just do that as a precaution. I just set my draw stop timing, so that's on, and this is also a good time to check the arrow rest to make sure that it's pulled in the upright position, and if not, now's a good time to adjust it. That's another reason, that's the main reason why I use this adjustable. It's nice and easy to adjust until I get everything else set, and then I'll tie that into the cable after I get everything all set up. Alright, so let me go over what we're doing so far with the nock travel. This is a hybrid cam system. These cams are not identical. So when we add or remove twist to the control cable, we're actually rotating them a little bit. That's going to do certain things. When we remove twist from the control cable, like if you have a low nock tear and you're removing twist from the control cable, you're going to be increasing the draw weight and the draw length. So to compensate for that, what I typically do is I come back and I'm actually adding twist to the string, and that lowers the draw weight, and also it shortens up the draw length a little bit. Sometimes I'll even play around with the pocket. I'll move the draw stop peg a little bit to shorten the pocket, and that's also going to shorten the draw length. When I say pocket, I mean when you're at full draw, like how much you're in that little valley back there. If I had nock tear to the right or to the left, the way you adjust for that left to right margin is by putting twist or in or taking twist out of that side of the yoke. So if I'm tearing to the right, I'm actually going to add a twist or a half a twist on the right yoke, and you keep doing that until your right to left margin comes intact. If your axle to axle is a little long, then you definitely want to add twist to the side where you're having the tear. However, if your axle to axle came in a little bit short, you could also loosen, or you take twist out of the left yoke. So just so you see that concept as far as which way you're manipulating the cam, you have those options. If your axle to axle is right on and you want to keep it right kind of near there, and you need a total of a twist difference, you could take a half out of the one side and put a half in the other, that kind of thing. There you have it. I hope this video has helped. If it has, please like, subscribe, share it with your friends, share it with your other colleagues who are working on these kind of bows, and check out my channel. Thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, take care and God bless.